This is an example and tutorial for how to get up and running to perform some basic data mining using Microsoft Excel or similar spreadsheet software such as LibreOffice. After downloading the dataset, you can open it in Excel by first creating a new spreadsheet. A blank workbook is fine. And then go to the Data tab and click From Text. Navigate to where you downloaded the raw data, which is probably called 2013 fall.txt or something similar, and then click Import. You'll be presented with the import wizard, and fortunately the defaults are sufficient. Let's click Next. We can see that we start to divide the data. Excel is figuring out the data and seeing how to so-called delimit it or to organize it. So we'll click Next. Everything looks good. Let's click Finish. Excel asks to insert it either into the existing worksheet or a new worksheet. The existing one is fine. And so now we have all of our raw data. And notice we have many rows of it, on the order of maybe 10,000 rows. And so we need to put in the labels so we understand what all this data means. Click in the first row, and then right click and do Insert, and then begin labeling the data. With your data labeled, it's now time to create the pivot table. Let's select all the columns of data, and then go into Insert, Pivot Table, and then Excel provides two options. We're going to use the pivot table, and it'll ask us where to insert this pivot table. It's best to put it in a new worksheet, though you can experiment with what works best for your workflow. Click OK. And so now we're in the pivot table editor. To get started, we look off on the right side here, and we've got all the different column headings, and we can click and drag them into the individual boxes, the row labels and column labels, etc., to construct the pivot table. So let's look at, say, customer ID, put that down as a row, and we'll see that the spreadsheet automatically updates. And let's look at the product ID as a column. And so now what we are seeing is on the left side here, this leftmost column is each customer ID. Customer 31 could be Cheerios, customer 32 could be Captain Crunch. It doesn't matter, but these are all different customers, 5 of them. And along the horizontal, we have 5 different product types named internally as 51, 52, 53, 54, and 55. However, we're not seeing any data in this white section, and so we need to tell Excel what to put in the values box over here in the lower right. And let's put in price. Let's see what the customers are paying. Well, we're not quite seeing the actual dollar amounts. As you can see, it says it's displaying the count of price. So it's actually showing us something like how many individual products were purchased, and that doesn't really quite help us. So let's change this by clicking the value field settings and change it to a sum. So now we're seeing dollar amounts. Even though the figure doesn't have a dollar sign in front of it, we're seeing the total dollars pulled in this example, how well product 51 has sold to all of the customers through the history of our data set. $19,510.24. Let's say we don't want to know about the history of the entire company and maybe want to pick out a specific month from year to year. See how sales do every January. So we'll click the month label here, drag it down into the report filter. And so what happens is it adds a little bit of a drop-down box here. Right now we're showing all 12 months year over year. And if we want to look at just January, we'll presume that 1 refers to January. And click OK. And so now we have all of the January totals. We could even drill down further and make it so that instead of just all Januaries, we could do Januaries of a certain year. Let's pick the year. Let's pick January of 2005. Click OK. And so we can see that in January of 2005, product 51, we only made about $200 from that product. Not too good. But we can see that across all 5 products and all of the customers, only 4 customers at this point in time, we see that we made a grand total of $9,507 and change. And so you can rearrange the rows and columns and the sums to get at what you're trying to mine, to see where those gems are. As just a quick example, let's say instead of looking at product ID, we click and drag, move it up, and you can see the icon shows a little X. It disappears the products. And let's now compare customer ID to sales ID, the salespeople. And so this can help us to see the sales relationship between individual salespeople, called salesperson 21, salesperson 22, etc., and the relationship that these salespeople have with each respective customer. So in January of 2005, for example, salesperson ID 22 sold to 4 customers, and looks like salesperson 22's biggest customer in January of 2005 was customer number 35, because salesperson 22 sold $531.88 worth of product to customer number 35. This was a quick tutorial and demo of how to use pivot tables in Microsoft Excel.